Hello AMP2. In this video I will be going over the parts of the eyeball, and I will be doing that with the eye model I have here before you, and after that I will be going over the actual real sheep eye. Okay, so I'm going to be following the list that's on your lab handout under visual receptors. Alright, so starting off with the parts of the eye external. So I'm going to be flipping this eyeball over here. Okay, and so starting off with the first one would be the cornea. The cornea is right here. It's the clear structure of the eye that's anterior to the pupil and the iris. So this right here is the cornea. The conjunctiva on the list, we will be getting to that with the actual eye because this eye does not have a conjunctiva. The sclera of the eyeball is the white part of the eye. Next we have the extrinsic eye muscles, and so all around the outside of the eye here you see these muscles right here, right here, right here. These are all considered extrinsic eye muscles. Extrinsic meaning outside. So outside of the eye are muscles. Optic nerve is right here. It'll be going in, it's exactly posterior to where the cornea is. So the cornea is right here. This is where the optic nerve comes in. Ignore this. This is just where the eyeball goes into the stand. Okay, this is not an actual anatomical feature. There's nothing really anatomical that comes out from the bottom of the eyeball. Okay, so ignore that. That's not the optic nerve. The optic nerve is directly behind the cornea. So right here, optic nerve. You'll see it again with the internal part of the eye. Alright, so I'm going to flip this over here. Alright, so now you're looking inside the eye. And so the first one on the list, the aqueous humor, you're not going to see the aqueous humor on an eye model. It's a fluid, so you'll see that on a real eye. So I'm going to go down to the next one, the lens. The lens is right here. So it's internal. So again, comparing it to the cornea, this is the cornea right here. The lens is behind the cornea. This can be removed like that. So this is the lens right here. Okay, next will be suspensory ligaments. Suspensory ligaments are these structures right here. It's what directly attaches to the lens, and so the suspensory ligaments holds the lens in place. What's connected to these ligaments is the ciliary body, which is next on the list. The ciliary body is right here. So I want you to think of like the ciliary body right here is like an internal muscle. So the ciliary body is this internal muscle. Connected to the ciliary body are suspensory ligaments, and the suspensory ligaments is what holds the lens in place. Okay, next is the iris of the eye. And so to see the iris of the eye, I'm going to tilt it this way a little bit and remove the cornea. Now the iris of the eye is the colored region. Okay, so when you're looking at the color of someone's eye, like this is a brown eye, the colored region is the iris. This is actually a smooth muscle that actually helps constrict and dilate the pupil. And that's what's next on the list is the pupil. The pupil is an actual hole right here. So it's a hole that goes right to the lens, which I'm tapping on the lens right now. But if I remove the lens, it's an actual true hole. See? So it's an actual true hole there. So that is the pupil right there. Alright, the vitreous humor is another type of fluid that you find in the eye. This model does not have any fluids in it, so I will show you that with the actual eye. The next on the list is the retina. The retina is everything that's orange on the inside of the eye here. Okay, so everything orange here, very vascular. So all this orangey yellow color is the retina. The choroid coat. The choroid coat is an extension from the ciliary body, so it's pink, and it goes around and wraps around the whole eyeball. So this pink layer right here is the choroid coat. And the last thing on this model here is the optic nerve. This is the optic nerve right here. So again, it's directly posterior to the cornea and the lens. So this is the optic nerve right here coming in. And you see the blood vessels coming in here. This is all nerve tissue coming in right here. And what is the blind spot? The blind spot is actually right here. It's yellow right here. This blind spot, there's no rods and cones in here. Rods and cones are cells of the retina. Now there's no rods and cones right here because that's exactly where the optic nerve comes in. It's called a blind spot because if an image bounces off the lens and hits the back of the eye right at the blind spot where there's no rods and cones, you won't be able to pick up that image. So it's like it's never really there. It disappears on you. Okay, so that's the optic nerve blind spot where the optic nerve comes into the eye and meets up with the retina. Okay, and so there's an eye model right there. I will be showing you this picture right here, so I'll just hold it right here for a minute for you. That shows you all the parts that I went through on the eye model. And then the flip side of it will be the extrinsic eye muscles that you see in the iris and the pupil right there. Again, this kind of shows you this model mounting post. That's not an actual anatomic feature at all. That's just where it attaches to the stand itself. So ignore that. That's not going to be on the exam. But I will give pictures of this as well for you to study off of. Alright. Next, I'm going to show you the actual eye. Now, these are on the sheep eyes right here. One I have cut open here. I will show you some parts in that. And then here's one that is not open yet. Okay, so looking at the same structures that we talked about on the eyeball here, I'm going to start off on the top here and point out some things that you can see easily in with this eye. Okay, first of all, the cornea, again, will be right in front here. That clear curvature right there that covers up the pupil and the iris right here. So that would be the cornea. Now the conjunctiva, we did not see that in the eye model, but you can see it on here. As it's kind of like this folded, excuse me. It's kind of a folded up skin. It's a very thin skin here that kind of wraps around the whole eye. So it's very clear skin. That kind of covers up the whole eye here. So conjunctiva. Where have you heard of conjunctiva? Might be from conjunctivitis. Conjunctivitis is when this tissue right here becomes inflamed, and when it becomes inflamed, it becomes pinkish red. That's what we call conjunctivitis pink eye. Okay, so conjunctiva right here. So it's kind of a flat, clear skin that covers up the whole eyeball. If I scrape away the conjunctiva, I'm going to get to the white of the eye. The white of the eye is the sclera, okay, which we seen that on the eye model. Okay, if I'm rotating this eye around, you're going to see some features that are the muscles, and so these are what's called the extrinsic eye muscles, so the muscles on the outside of the eye here. So they're kind of like a brownish in color here, so they're all over the place here. You can see them really good on the model here. But on here, you gotta look for like a little bit of a yellowish band, yellowish brown bands that you see stretching out in all different directions there. So those are the extrinsic eye muscles. The optic nerve is kind of hard to see on an actual eye, but if you orientate yourself and go, okay, here's where the cornea is. If I completely turn this eyeball around, okay, the optic nerve is coming in through here. Okay, so it's coming through here and it's going into the back of the eye. Alright, looking internally. So internally with the eyeball here. So here's one that's cut open already here. So let me adjust the light a little bit here so you can see. Alright, so the first thing that kind of pops up here is this very hard substance that's right here. This is the actual lens. Okay, so that right there, I'll lay it down here. This is the lens. Now notice that there's a fluid. It's kind of a different kind of fluids coming out here. This eyeball might have got a little bit dried out, lots of fluid. So I'm going to try to extract this eyeball here. And see if I can get the fluids out. So there's two different kind of fluids that we're going to be looking at here. So the first kind of fluid is kind of an aqueous type of fluid here. And so the aqueous humor, and that would be kind of It's a very watery type of a fluid, and so that's what aqueous means. So it's very watery like, and so it's very thin, water like. Then you got this little thick, it kind of looks like a gel, okay? You know, or you think of it kind of like a sinus fluid, like if you have a sinus infection, you blow your nose or something, it's a little bit thicker in texture there. That would be the vitreous humor. So vitreous humor is a little bit thicker. It comes out kind of like a blob out of the eyeball. This thinner fluid is the aqueous humor, which means like water-like. And so you see those just in the real eye here, not in the eye model. All right, looking at the lens again. So you got the lens right here. You notice that these black little stringy like things are attached to the lens there. Those are the suspensory ligaments. The same things I said I was holding the lens in place with the eye model. So you can see them really well attached to the lens right here. The ciliary body. Okay, so the ciliary body here, it's a little bit harder to see, but when you look at it in the back of the eye here, so if I kind of open this up a little bit more for you, and you look at the back of the cornea and the iris, you see this kind of a black ridge. So if I angle it this way, you can see that this black ridge right here is a ciliary body. Okay, so it kind of forms like, you see, like on the model here, it shows like a ridge. Okay, like a ridge structure here. So that's the ciliary body right there. And so you're trying to find that ridge when you're looking at the eyeball right here. And so again, see that ridge right there, that's the ciliary body. Okay, the iris of the eye again is a color region. So if I kind of pull this back a little bit here, so this colored region is the iris of the eye right there. This is again the cornea that I'm pulling away here. The pupil is a hole, which you can't see that well because I cut it right at the pupil, but it's an actual hole. Vitreous humor we talked about is that thick fluid, this gel-like thick fluid right here. The retina in the model was orange, okay, but on here the retina is actually black. Okay, and so all this black that covers up the vast majority of the internal part of the eyeball. Okay, that is the retina. And the last thing that's on here, the choroid coat. The choroid coat was pink on the model here. This pink layer is the choroid coat. But on the real eye here, the choroid coat, especially since we're dealing with this one that's a sheep eye, it actually has like a little bit of a bluish incandescent look to it. So if I kind of angle the eyeball in a way that it's reflecting some light, you see this bluish green reflective nature right there. That's why when you look at the lab list, it says tapetum lucidum. Okay, that's what we call it when it's we don't have it because our eyes don't reflect in the night when there's a light shining in it. You think of like a deer eyes. Deer has it, and it allows their eyes to reflect light in the dark, and so sheep has it as well. So it's this reflective nature there. That's the choroid coat that we call it tapetum lucidum in animals like the sheep and deer. Okay, and then and the optic nerve. The optic nerve comes in right at the right in the back right here and comes in and forms the whole blind spot there. All right, so that is all the parts of the actual eye and the eye model. Okay, so study this video as many times as you need to, and again, I'll have this picture right here posted up for you to look at, but understand I'm not going to have this picture up on the lab exam. It will actually be the model or the real eye that you will be identifying the parts off of. But this is good to picture to have as a reference while you're studying the parts of the eye. So there you are. Let me know if you have any questions, and good luck studying on the eye.